Well, everybody, it is 10:30. We're going to get started promptly, just to make sure that we're not, wasting anybody's time here, because I really can't wait to get this one going. I really like this presentation. Um, Jessica, if it's okay, I mean, we don't have we have a kind of a nice group here. Are we able to allow people to come off mute if they want to?
Carl, you read my mind. As you speak, I'm going to start unmuting people's mics, and
Okay,
then when they're ready, they can unmute it themselves.
perfect. Because
Okay.
I think it'd be perfect if we could get some, not just
Absolutely.
me blabbling on here for the next hour and a bit. So,
Okay,
so
sounds
let's
good.
get started. Okay. So welcome to the MLITSD Fines and Penalties in Warehouse and Distribution. My name is Carl Bonello. I'm a warehouse distribution specialist with WSPS. Why I really like this presentation is because we get to see a lot of things that are going on at different companies that maybe you are not aware of. We're involved very intricately with the Ministry of Labor, so this is going to be a really good one to kind of look at what is happening in other industries, maybe what some of the fines and penalties are, and then maybe to ask questions about how this could relate to yourself and your business, and how we can help with preventing these types of things happening. Okay. So your computer audio, obviously recommended. I always like to have the headset on. I feel like it sounds a lot better, and especially when you're speaking, it sounds a lot better to you. Your cameras, again, if you want to turn your cameras on, I'm not sure if you're allowed to, but we'll see about that. Please use the chat. I mean, use the chat as much as you can. If you really want to, please come off mute and ask a question. I would love to hear your voice. And again, we're going to take everybody's microphone off mute there. Reactions, right? If you want to do some reactions up there, please do so as well. Like the thumbs up if you agree. I don't think we're going to do any polls today. Again, I would just rather just you chat or put it into the chat. But please try to reach out as much as you can. Okay. We're pretty good with your accessibility features, right? There is live caption if you like. You can turn it on there. And then full screen, I don't really recommend full screen because then you can't see a bunch of the other things like the chat and the other functions. So just keep it how it is right now. Okay. Safety Connection goals. Our goal, personally, again, our goal is to learn, share, and discover what you value. So hopefully you're valuing a really safe experience for your workplace. We want to, connect with other peers in the industry. So other people that are here from different industries. Best practice exchange, and this is what I really like, is what are other places doing maybe for some of the things that we're going to talk about today? What are you doing? Is there anything special that you're doing that might help other businesses as well? And then, you can attend from your workplace, which is fantastic. So you don't have to go to a big long drive, especially, I don't know about you, I'm in London, and we got a lot of snow here, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of nice not to have to drive, especially when there's like inclement weather and that type of stuff. Okay. This is a little bit of a survey. This is by the MLITSD to collect demographic information on behalf, like who is taking this course, right? So this kind of want to like what kinds of people are taking it, what kind of industries are taking it. So if you want to, it's totally optional for you. You don't have to do it. And it's in the chat as well, so I can kind of keep going, so you don't have to do it like this second. It's like a Qualtrics survey. You do have to know the function number, which is on there as well. And if you just want to do it, you can. If not, then it's totally fine. Okay, so we're just going to kind of keep on going from there. All right, so we are going to review 10 cases. So these cases have been picked from recent court cases that have happened in and around, Ontario, and those types of things. We're going to go through the highlights, what kind of legislation might apply, the penalties that were invoked for those incidents, what kind of lessons did we learn, and then what kind of resources could help you if this is a struggle for you. I do want to preempt that, again, I am hopefully a resource for all of you. We have a lot of WD specialists in the region. If you ever need help with anything, either reach out to your account manager who can help, or you can reach out directly to like one of us. I will have my email address in here as well at the end. So if there's ever questions, concerns, comments, you want me to come out for a walkthrough, whatever that would be, please know that we can definitely help you with any of this stuff. Okay, fantastic. So our very first one that we're going to get to, maybe I'll throw it out there first. Does anybody have any questions before we start today? You can either come off mute or you can just throw it in the chat. But does anybody have any questions, concerns, comments? Nothing? All right, let's get started. So there's gonna be 10 of these. So we're gonna get through 10. I have some ones that I actually picked up from yesterday. I went onto the MLITSD website and I went to their court bulletins, and there's some pretty recent ones in there as well, which we could get into as well, that I can also put into the chat as well. But there was for the first one, a worker was struck by a pallet that was pushed over the 1.5-inch flue space. It was pushed over, right? The employee was picking product off the racking. In adjacent aisle, so the aisle behind them, a coworker is stacking a pallet on top of the rack. The pallet of products falls onto the worker. Okay, I see this quite often in my travels. I see where we are stacking and putting things on racking, okay, and things get pushed off the back end and it falls onto either a workspace or a worker or a walkway and those types of things. So this is a really important thing to be looking for in your facility, is to see, could things fall off, right? And so for the legislation for this, right, hopefully everybody's aware that materials, articles, or things have to be placed or stored so that the material, articles, or things will not tip, collapse, or fall, right? So if you're not aware where this is from, Regulation 851, Section 45 has all of the stuff about storage, right? So that's why anything on a racking unit cannot be able to tip, fall, and injure a worker. So things typically need to be secured to pallets. Okay, so shrink wrap, tied down, bolted, whatever that might be. If there's a risk of it falling while it's on a pallet, or it could be pushed off the end, there needs to be measures to make sure that it's not going to do that. Okay, so the penalty that this company got was about $13,000, right? So it was a little bit less than the other ones that we are seeing here. What do you think some of the lessons learned might be? Right, you have to secure items to the pallet. Right, whenever we walk through, we kind of look at the pallets and make sure that nothing can tip and fall. Overhang. Now, this is a great question. How much of an overhang are you typically supposed to have? Typically 2 to 4 inches is best practice. 2 to 4 inches on the front and then 2 to 4 inches on the back, right? The idea is that it needs to be centered on both of the beams so that it's not top heavy, or it's not heavy at the front and it's not heavy at the back. It should be equally distributed between the front and the back. So typically, with the size of our racking structure and the size of our skids, 2 to 4 inches is typically what we would like to see. Flue space between the racking, there's enough space in between the racking. You could have some camera technology, just take a look at and see if you have a lot of overhang on the back. Remove people adjacent to the aisles. I'm not sure if you've ever seen at the big box stores, whenever they are loading or unloading on racking when they need to, they cordon off the entire area or aisleway that is behind it, right? So that there's no chance of things falling off. And if it does, there should not be anybody there, right? So things like that. Ensuring that we have properly sized pallets, so they're not too big or they're not too small, so they won't, fall off or they won't hit another pallet. And then backstops, right? So that maybe there's a backstop there that prevents things from falling off the back. I love the wire mesh on the back as well. And I love making sure that those things are audited and enforced for us to use. Okay. Those are some of the lessons learned. Some of the really good resources that we have, again, you're going to see this a lot, is that there's a link here that you can follow on. We also will be sending out the link for these resources at the end. You'll get an email from us. A lot of these are just on our WSPS.ca website, especially if you looked up warehouse and distribution. All of these things will be on. There's checklists, there's videos, there's really good need to know that are on there. And if you can't find all of that, please just let me know and I can send it to you. Bring skids that are in. So Angela says, I just had a team member bring up the use of specific skids that are insured. Oh, I've never heard of skids that are insured. I've heard of specific places using specific skids, like the Chet pallets for usually specific items. Pallets have not been our friend lately. So I've seen a lot of incidences where pallets, they come in and they're not very good condition. And a lot of times when the driver's picking them up, they are literally disintegrating when the operator's picking them up and things are falling. So taking a look at your skids, it should be part of your racking inspections, should be to look at your skids to make sure that they're, again, the proper size and that they're in good condition. I'm not really sure. I don't know if you want to come off mute, Angela, about the insured part. I've never heard of insured skids before. If anybody else has, please come off mute as well. But
Yeah, I hadn't heard of it either. It just came up in a JHSC meeting, because we've had sort of a similar issue with our skids, right? So skids are
Okay.
coming in and they're broken down. They're sort of falling apart. And we have relatively heavy product, so we
Yeah.
want to be just aware of it. And he was mentioning, I guess he'd previously worked at larger warehouses, where they explained it as being insured skids. So they were blue or orange, and they're the only two, evidently, that
Right.
are insured to meet a specific requirement.
Okay.
And I just haven't come across that, I guess, in all of my years. I've always come across having to inspect them and make sure they're in good rapport, like they're in
Yeah.
good shape and stuff. I just had never heard that term of insured skids. And
Yeah, I've never
what
heard
is
of
this? And
insured, but like the blue skids are would be like a Chet pallet. So it's like a company or an organization that like owns them and you kind of lease them or like rent them. And they
Mhm.
are to a certain standard. So if you have anything that's non-conforming, you basically send it to back to them and they fix it and they get you like proper ones. Pallets. Yeah, Chet pallets. These pallets are often come with loss or damage coverage. Oh, okay. Okay. So the loss or damage. So perfect, Mark. So yeah, that's probably what they mean is that if you lose a product due to their pallets not being in good condition, then they will cover some of the damage. I did not know that. That is a really good thing to know. Thank you, Mark, for putting that in there. That's what this is about learning from everybody. So there you go. Okay. I've even had it where companies have had a few workers that they were a little slow. Not that the workers were slow, but the work the work was slow, and they actually had to make their own pallets. Like they actually bought a bunch of wood, and they were like, you know what, we're just going to make our own pallets that were like specifically for our product, size, duration, all that type of stuff, and it's actually worked out really nice. And they branded them all so that they couldn't go missing and those types of things. So, anybody else have any comments or questions about pallets, overhang, falling off the back, anything like that? Anybody else? No? Okay. Again, you need anything, please always just let me know. Okay. All right. So knowledge check. To ensure a stable pallet load on the beams, pallet overhang should be what? What should our pallet overhang be? A, B, C, or D? What would you guys say? C. Beautiful. You guys all got this. It should be about 2 to 4. Again, it depends on a bunch of factors like how close your racks are, what the width of your racking is, the size of your pallets, all that type of stuff. The thing I don't want to see is that it's flush on the front and then there's like a foot overhang at the back, right? I want to make sure that it's evenly distributed on the front and the back. Okay, fantastic. Look at this. Rack capacity, loading and unloading instructions are not available, right? There was a stop work order issued, visible damage to the vertical members and the cross beams of the racking, and it was all repeat violations. So they had had several warnings by the Ministry of Labor, and they actually had written orders as well. Okay, so that's what happened. So legislation, right? Again, for the CSA user guide, if you do just have a lot of racking and inspections, I do encourage you, and trust me, I'm not trying to sell you, but the CSA racking course, I actually teach that course as well. It's a great course. It never expires. It's one of those courses where it's really good to actually get the CSA standard. So A34424 is the latest version, and it's really good. Okay, I just want to throw that out there. Instructions for safely loading and unloading material in the rack. Rated capacity should be posted and is visible. And then you should have regular maintenance on your racking. So you should be doing regular inspections on your racking. Okay, I did get in here. There was a workplace injury resulted in $50,000 fine for a Mississauga poultry processing plant, where they like same kind of thing. They had damaged racking. They didn't have the weights posted on it, and so that was a pretty recent one where they just got fined $50,000 for it. Sonia says, I recently just joined. Is there a reference to a state standard for pallets? There, they do kind of mentioned it, Sonia, a little bit in there about pallets, about pallet condition. They in the CSA standard, they kind of go in there. Again, if CSA standard is just best practice, it's not the law. But again, it is one of those things where I have seen the MLITSD look at it as maintaining your equipment in good condition. Pallets would be considered part of equipment or your workplace. So it would be up to the employer to make sure that they're being maintained properly. Okay. And again, it's your workplace, right? So it should be looked at, like, if not daily, at least monthly through your inspections. Okay. Penalty for this was a big one. This one was a really, really big one. They got over $300,000 in penalties. I think the thing that pushed them over the edge, especially with the court system, was that they had repeat violations, right? So they had been told by the MLITSD several times to fix their racking, to post the weight limits, and to like make sure they had a maintenance program to fix anything that was broken. Okay. So this was a pretty big one, right? What could we done? What could we have? Is there a ministry looking for CSA placard load stickers or load ratings? They should be, and I'm just going to throw this out there because, again, it is something that I think is happening. Is in January, February, I will be training most of the MLITSD industrial inspectors on the CSA racking course. So if they are maybe unaware of certain things about racking, they will know it come 2026. I hear there is an initiative coming about racking, so it would be, a good idea to make sure that you have people that are competent to do racking inspections, to make sure that you're inspecting them at least monthly, if not more. So they will be looking for, so Francis, great question. They will be looking for those things as well. As a minimum, and this part of the CSA standard, it has to be at the end of each bay. There has to be like a placard at the end of each bay. They don't have to be stickered on every single load beam. I actually don't recommend that because if your weights change, then you have to change all the stickers, and it's just a lot easier to change one placard than it is to change a whole bunch of stickers. Does that answer your question, Francis? Okay. So how could we
Sorry, I
have
had you
avoided?
on mute.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
sure.
that answers it. I just wanted to make sure we're starting to move to placards, but most of our
Yeah.
racking's not new, so we still have the old sticker per beam type of situation. But
Yeah, which is fine. Yes, yeah. So I like just the placard at the end, right? Because again, if things change, you can just change a placard, and it's just a lot easier. Sonia says, "Did you say you're training the MOL?" Yes, I am. They take our courses quite often. The course is a public course. Anybody can take it. You can have it at your facility, or you can do it virtually. Or personally, I like to do it at the facility, so then we actually go out to on the floor and actually take a look at your racking with the whole group. That's a way better way of doing it, I think, than virtually. But yeah, we will actually. That's a great question. We can have the link dropped in if you want on there at the end, right, Jessica, for the CSA racking course, which is perfect. Okay. Is there anything that we could have done to have prevented this? Is there anything that we could have done as a group to have prevented $300,000 in fines by the Ministry of Labor? What would you say would be some things that we should be doing for our racking? Anybody? No, not even Julie.
I mean, you did mention inspections, so
yes,
that'd be a start. Or
yeah,
a program in general.
Absolutely, right? So a program, right? You should have competent inspectors doing your inspections. You should do it at least once a month, if not more. Like, it depends on how much damage you're incurring. So we're just going to post this in here, right? CSA racking for inspections, rack inspection program. Like, who's going to do it? What do we do with our inspections? Who's going to fix any non-conformances? So if I have a beam that's bent or damaged or broken, who's fixing it, and like what timelines do we have? Having the post and beam capacities posted at the end. There's some companies that have software that would take pictures and like do like work orders for certain things. If you're not sure, get engineer advice, right? Get those for it. And then accountability. So if a driver hits racking, what's the accountability for them? Like, do they get a free pass? Like, do we want to encourage that? Which I always like to encourage reporting of any damage. Okay. Juliet, you're right. That they could have replaced it, right? They could have replaced damaged parts, which they should, right? So again, is it like an immediate damage? Do we need to block it off? Do we need to like get somebody in there to take a look at it? We need to have a program for identifying damage and then responding to it. Okay, good. I love it. I love that this group is so engaged. Again, other resources, there's a whole bunch of stuff on racking. So if you want, there's a whole like what supervisors need to know about rack safety. There's a really cool checklist that we have. Those types of things are really, really good. And there's a lot more racking information and free resources on our website. Okay. The next one we're going to, it is preferred to place capacity stickers on each beam instead of at the end of rows to increase visibility. What would you say? A or B? Oh, a live poll. Look at you, Jessica. Right. Only 2 responses. Okay, here we go. 5 responses. All right. 9. Okay. Yeah, so the answer for this one is false, right? It is not preferred, right? You can, like, there's nothing that says that you can't. It is just preferred to have them at the end of each row, right? So then again, some people say that you might be covering up damage, which could be true, but it's mainly just in case your capacities change, then you can just update the end of each row, and it's not so big of a administrative process for that. Okay, great job. Okay, number 3. This one is a huge topic. Okay, forklift drivers convicted of cell phones use in the warehouse. So I'm not sure if you heard of this one. This one was a big topic of conversation. Okay. So Sonia, sorry, just before we get into that, Sonia has a great question. Is there any CSA-like standard for non-industrial racking, rather shelving? So what is the difference between racking and shelving? Great question, just to keep us on this topic, because we're doing great for time. So what's the difference between racking and shelving? Yeah, Julie. Oh, I knew you were in this for a great reason. Racking is used by loaded or unloaded by mechanical means. Yeah, you are on fire. Not in a bad way, like in a good way. Loaded or unloaded by mechanical means. So by fork truck, by crane, by hoist, right? Those types of things. Shelving is only loaded or unloaded by hand. So the things that would apply for shelving would be following the manufacturer's recommendations and then ensuring that no material would tip, fall, and injure a worker, and Section 25 of the Green Book about the employer maintaining the equipment in good condition. So really, they're kind of like the more general, but the owner's manual or the the manufacturer's recommendations really play a part in shelving. So like, you're not supposed to load it over the loaded capacity. You're supposed to make sure that they're secure, that they're not going to tip and fall, that you're supposed to inspect them, those types of just general things for shelving. Okay. Is that good, Sonia? Or do you want me to get into, is there anything specific that you want to get into?
Oh, I think that answered my question. That's
Perfect.
great,
Yeah.
because it's something that's I would say, like in retail, it's may or may not be overlooked, and there's so
Yeah.
many variations out there. So it's a gray area, I guess, depending on how you look at it. But that spells it out for me.
Yeah. So
What about the height element? I guess the height, is there a height element as well, or no?
Shelving?
Yeah, distinguishing between the two, or is it
Nope.
just literally
Nope,
mechanical means?
It's just mechanical, right? And then
Okay.
again, as soon as you get into racking, then it must be secured to the floor. There's all you have to follow the CSA standard. You don't have to, but you should be following the CSA standard. So there's a little bit more stringency when it's considered racking, right? So I could have racking, quote unquote racking, that's in my maintenance shop, and there is never anything in there that is mechanical to load or unload it. So we're just placing parts on it. We're putting bolts and nuts and stuff. That would be considered shelving then. If there's no way that you could get a mechanical forklift or walkie or even a thing in there, you could have shelving that turns into racking, but you couldn't have it go the other way. So.
And rolling shelves, I've also seen that. Where does that fit into the equation?
Yeah, so it's just shelving. Again, it's just
Okay.
rolling shelving. And again, you should be following the manufacturer's recommendations for inspections, weight limits, those types of things. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
I'll mute myself.
No, it's okay. It's all good. So again, this is a really interesting one. Forklift drivers cannot be distracted. It's the same rules that apply in your car. Okay. So there's 2 workers sitting on and standing behind their forklifts on their cell phones. Work refusal and administrative labor were contacted. There was a zero tolerance approach with respect to cell phone, or there was a zero tolerance cell phone policy in the workplace as well. So they have a distracted policy, especially for drivers. The legislation for this was quite interesting, right? So no worker shall operate equipment or work in a manner that may endanger himself, herself, or any other worker, right? So this is right on to the workers type of thing. Julie, yes.
Hey, Carl, sorry, I don't understand. What was the work refusal piece in there? Where did that come in? I'm
it's not 100% clear about what the work refusal was for, but I heard that there was employees that were doing a work refusal because their drivers were distracted. That's what I believe the work refusal was for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they okay, got it.
They called the ministry saying that we believe that somebody's going to get injured because the forklift drivers are distracted.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then they came in and they actually charged them with distracted driving, which is, I think, is huge, right? Each worker was fined $1,000 for this, right? So I have been in chats with the MLITSD inspectors, and they are looking for this. So either, like, I've heard of drivers reading the newspaper, like on the steering wheel while they're driving, which I don't see that very often, but I've heard of that. I've even heard of hot liquids that aren't capped or anything like that. So if it fell on their lap, I've heard of that being a possible distraction. Again, I've only heard of these two with the cell phones, but I've heard that there could be other distractions that they could be on. Okay. Oh, okay. Well,
a question for that. I know you said it was the workplace policy, but did they revalidate these workers had been spoken to before the fine? Do you know?
I'm not
like
sure.
by leadership?
That would be, you know what? That is a great point, right? Because if they have been talked to before, maybe they've been disciplined. My other question is, do the leadership know that this is occurring? Like, and if they do know that, then that's a bigger topic for me. That, like, why are we allowing this systemic thing to happen at our workplace? And Angela, I
guess I was wondering why the supervisor wasn't also charged potentially. I mean, depending on the situation, of course. But
yeah. So
to get to a work
really
refusal seems extreme.
But again, I applaud the workers if they feel like these drivers are getting away with murder literally by driving around being distracted. And again, I would hope that they would go through the proper channels of talking to the supervisors, talking to the managers, talking to the GM or whoever, and going up the chain before they start calling the Ministry of Labor. But I mean, I think that's a great use of that work refusal tool, is to be able to say, hey, like, somebody's going to get critically injured or even killed here, right? Angela says about smartwatches. That has come up. I haven't heard of anybody, doing that, but I have heard that could be on the horizon for a distraction, possibly. So this could be for any type of transportation. Yeah, tuggers, golf carts, anything that's a motorized vehicle, you are not allowed to be distracted. I highly recommend, and I know I've just been talking about this week, is putting together a distracted policy, not only for drivers, but for pedestrians as well. So I'm working on that right now, but for drivers and for pedestrians, because I think it's kind of a two-way street, right? It should be part of their forklift training to know not to use. Absolutely, Mark, I agree with you. It should be. And again, part of that program is auditing and enforcing it. If they're allowed to get away with it, then how is that beneficial for anybody, right? I agree with you guys 100%. This is great topics, you guys. Oh, I gotta take back control. Did you take over control? Took over my control there. There we go. All right. So what could we have done to have prevented this? I think we've already talked about it. Have policies and training, right? We should have a distracted policy for drivers and pedestrians. Because again, if we talk about smartwatches, we could have somebody walking around looking at their smartwatch as well, right? Awareness communication about distractions in the workplace. Establish safety zones. So there are some companies that I've seen where they've had a safe zone within the facility where you can use your phone or you can look at whatever. It's like a circle or a square where it's like kind of cordoned off. I have seen that before. I mean, those are useful. Do not carry your cell phone, which is another good one where some people don't even allow it on the floor. And then monitor and enforce enforcement with consequences. So again, there should be monitoring. There should be like, that discipline level that needs to go up if the person is using them all the time. Okay. Again, other resources, bunch of stuff what workers need to know for pedestrian safety. We do pedestrian safety assessments as well, those types of things. But again, if you want to click on the little icon here, it will take you to the WSPS.ca website. If you want to download more pedestrian safety, you can always just search in there for pedestrian. We have a whole bunch of stuff in there as well. Okay. Any questions before we jump to the next one? Okay, great. So we have like a little bit of a knowledge check. A smartwatch. So there you go, Angela. A smartwatch is not a distraction. Can't see the poll. What is the poll? A smartwatch is not a distraction when operating a lift truck because it is worn on the wrist. True or false? Did you know this question was going to be on here, Angela?
I did not, but we just went through this at my work. We don't allow smartwatches on any of our mechanical equipment anymore. We had issues.
Fantastic. That's really good. Do you guys have a distracted policy?
We don't have one specifically. We have like a cell phone usage policy. But this, I'm taking my notes down and I'm like, yeah, I think I might be wanting to put one in place.
Yeah, we should collaborate because I'd like to, because I have one that I'm working on, but I would like, maybe I can send it to you and you can take a look at it and see if there's anything else I should add on there. Because I think I have to put on smartwatches on there now. So I just made a note that I want to add that into my policy. So,
that's awesome. I would absolutely love to.
Okay. Sounds good. So yeah, it is false, right? Any kind of distraction whatsoever. Okay. All right. Our next one. This one is a big one, right? Again, they're all big, but this one was a big one. Reversing trailer at a loading dock causes a fatality. Okay. Temp worker was struck by a reversing trailer wearing a white lab coat, crouching below loading dock near the wall. They were smoking and they were on their cell phone when this was happening. The driver opens the door, looks, sounds horn, reverses slowly, and pauses twice. Okay, but the driver did not see them. I heard from this one, again, don't quote me on this. I heard that the person was smoking while they were on the phone. They saw something that was in the way of the driver, so they bent down to try to relieve. I think it was a piece of like something on the floor or on the ground that they were just trying to move out of the way. Okay. Barriers, safeguards for the protection of workers shall be used and where high traffic endanger the safety of any worker, right? Again, in my pedestrian traffic assessments that I do, I use this one all the time, right? Reg 851, section 20, right? Really gets into, well, it gets into this kind of thing. If you cannot see, like, again, if I have vehicles and pedestrians, you need to have some type of controls to mitigate the risk of them coming in contact. So yes, Sonia, I would agree with you. You should have like a spotter if they couldn't see, or maybe that's not a smoking area, right? Like your loading docks outside should not be a smoking area. You should have a designated area that is away from them, right? So there's a whole bunch of things I feel like kind of went wrong here, right? But barriers, safeguards for the protection of workers shall be used. So you have to have some type of controls to mitigate the risk of them coming in contact, okay? Penalty for this one was a big one, right? $406,000 for this one which is a pretty substantial fine for this because it was a fatality. Okay. What could we do as an organization to prevent somebody like this from occurring? Let me throw that out to all of you. What do you think? So a spotter, Sonia, I'm going to say maybe if the driver is new to the area or can't see, then yes, a spotter should be used. Right, designated smoking areas, maybe away from a loading dock would be a good idea, right? Good job, Angela. Anything else?
What was interesting was that this was a criminal code reference.
Yep.
That's interesting to me, I guess. If I mean,
yeah,
area,
I wish there was more information on this one. All that, again, the information that they put out from these court bulletins is I want to say is kind of limited, but this was as much of the information that we could gather from this. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff about this. But loading docks and trailers backing into loading docks has been a big topic for a lot of companies. So one of the things that we could do, right? Establish outdoor break areas, right? So again, the smoking areas or wherever that might be away from there. Remove break conveniences at loading docks. I am a big believer personally in restricted areas. So like no smoke break should be within a loading dock area. People should not be walking by the loading docks inside or outside to access the washrooms, a lunch break, a smoking area, those types of things. There should be awareness signs. There should be barriers, maybe so that people just can't walk there. They have to walk around or something like that. Safety markings on pavement, possibly to help the driver back in. Maybe the driver should get out and look instead of just kind of leaning out of the trailer to see if it was all clear to do so. And then again, monitoring and enforcement for this one, right? I think the big thing here is not having anybody within the vicinity on foot that could be within the pathway of a driver. Okay. Again, other resources that we have on there, more about the pedestrian safety. I think there's a bunch of things on outdoor, loading dock areas and those types of things. Again, it's all there on the hub for you. Okay. The person directly responsible to ensure the trailer is secured to the loading dock is who? Now, this one is an interesting question, and I would love to get your feedback. Who is directly responsible to ensure that that trailer is secured to the loading dock? Who is that? It's an interesting question. Okay, we'll just wait for, I just want a couple more people. Yeah, okay, here we go. Yeah, so this is a really interesting question, and I love this one. I think this would be a really good takeaway as well, is ultimately it's the person who's entering the trailer. Okay, so what they should be responsible for is to ensure that like maybe your dock lock system or the wheels are chalked or both or whatever that would look like before they enter. Okay, so some places have it where the transport truck driver is responsible to do that to make sure that it's secure, but then the person who's going to be entering the trailer verifies that all those things have been done. But the operator's responsible. Yes, exactly, Julie. Yeah, exactly. Like the driver has their responsibility, but the person who's going to go in there is responsible to make sure that verify that all of those things have been done. I also like that is documented somewhere, that these are the responsibilities, because I never want to say, well, I thought that was what you were doing, or I thought that's what you were doing. So it's a really good thing to have those written down and like maybe an SOP, like a procedure. Absolutely, Mark, you took the words right out of my mouth. It makes sense that the person at the highest risks has the highest responsibility, right? I've seen companies where they've installed cameras outside, so the people don't have to go outside to do it. They can actually see from the outside, from the inside, like the camera view of the wheels are chalked. Maybe it's been disengaged. Maybe that the dock lock system is working properly. All those things are in place. Okay, fantastic, really, really good. I have gotten into the topic too about where your drivers are supposed to be when it's being loaded or unloaded. Now, I think some of you that I know have like a waiting area for the drivers. That is fantastic. You should have a waiting area so that they're not walking through your facility in shorts and Crocs and looking for the bathroom or the restrooms, or sorry, like the cafeteria and those types of things. You should have a kind of a contained area where they can go and not go. Okay. The best I've seen as well is that they come in with their keys, and I know you're going to tell me that they all have spare keys, but they give you the keys to their truck. And let's say there's like 10 loading docks, you put it on like loading dock number 3 because that's where they're at. And the supervisor or the driver gives them back their keys once they're done. Okay. I know you probably have a whole bowl of extra keys at your facility, some of you. I get it, but it's the best that you can kind of do from a due diligence standpoint. Does anybody else have any best practices for their drivers when they come into the facility that they want to share? Nobody? I feel like it's a Friday today. Okay, we'll keep going. Worker forklift strikes. So this is our new one. Forklift strikes worker causing critical injury. The worker was pulling loads out of the material handling area. The lift truck operator was picking pallets from a shrink wrap. Operator reverses, striking the worker. The worker falls, is run over, and is critically injured. Right? So you have a fork truck and you have a worker kind of working in the same area. The fork truck backs up and hits the worker and runs them over, right? Those types of things happen a lot. Maybe not the run over part, but do struck by. They will strike a person who is working in the same area. Okay. Legislation again for this one. There's a few that could be in here. The big one here is the barriers or safeguards for the protection of a worker shall be used where traffic may endanger the safety of a worker. So again, Reg A51, Section 20 really kind of gets into this quite a bit. Okay. Penalty for this one is about $87,000 for the company, right? I know this one's a big one for you, but what types of things could we do at our facilities to prevent this from occurring? What should we be happening if we have workers on foot and near fork trucks that could have prevented this from happening? Anybody? Barriers possible, right? Like you could, that would be ideal. Angela would have like a barrier that the forklift could get at, but also pedestrian training. Sure, love it. Yep. Anything else? I was even thinking like, oh, restricted access. Oh, okay, I love it. Define distance markers. Oh, cameras, love it. Yeah, Mark, have you seen those cameras where like it detects people now and will actually not allow you to hit them? There's like the AI cameras that are on there now. Lift truck training that they are not to be near the worker. Yeah, absolutely, right? Lift truck training, they are not to be near workers, and if this operator's responsible to tell people to move away. Absolutely, Julia, love it. Yeah, but they have these new ones. I've been looking at them where it's basically like AI is looking for people and other things, and it will not let the fork truck strike a worker, which I think is pretty neat. But again, Julie, do you want to jump in?
Is that an aftermarket thing that you can buy,
Yeah.
Carl?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of videos now, and a couple of companies are starting. I think it's the next big wave for fork trucks. They actually learn the difference between material and people. Like they figure out what are people and what. Yeah, I think Crown has them as well. Yeah, but they figure out what are people, and they actually like. If you look at the screen that the computer is looking at, like they have like the people are in red. Kind of a thing, and if they walk in front, it'll slow the fork truck down automatically. Which I'm kind of like, I don't know if you guys want to chime in. I'm kind of like, that's great and everything, but then I also think, could we rely on technology too much? Right? So like say, well, like maybe the drivers don't need to be as skilled, but then you know what I mean, like they're not paying attention. But then again, I'm like, well, I'd rather be that way and them not hit a person than not do it. Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of things. There's is there info from Crown or something else? Yeah, I agree. I think there should be a kind of a level of both, but I have seen it where there's like the backing up one specifically where it will not allow you to back up into something, which is good for like even like racking, so that you can't back up into racking, right? Yeah, combination of the controls. I agree with you guys. Okay. Perfect. So yeah, maybe again, and I know I hate when I say this too much, but I'm a big believer in making sure that the equipment that you're using is the right one for the job, right? So do you really need sit-down fork trucks? Like I always go into places, I'm like, what's the most that you're ever going to lift here? And they're like, oh, like 800 pounds. And you're like, so why do you have like a 7,000 or 8,000 pound fork truck? And they're like, I don't know, we've always had them. Right. So stand-ups are a lot better. You have a lot better visual, right? They're not as big and clunky and those types of things. So anyway, taking a look at what you're going to need it for, maybe one with a swivel seat so that you can see behind you a little easier. Maybe one-way traffic, again, load heights, warning systems such as horns, blue lights, halos, proximity sensors. So having the blue lights on the front and the back. I don't know if any of you have the halos, which is that like red strip around the sides. A lot of companies are going to that, saying you are not, like as a pedestrian, allowed to be within that halo of a fork truck. So it kind of puts a little bit of onus on the pedestrians as well to not kind of come too close. programs and training, and then equipment located to avoid traffic congestion. So maybe not having areas where people have to go to inspect it in the same area as a fork truck. I also see where, they're wearing the high-vis vest, which is fine, but also just letting the driver know, hey, Mark, I'm going to be doing a cycle count in aisle 4 just to let you know I'm going to be near your workstation, or I'm going to be in your area. Just let them know that you're even there, right? There's a whole bunch of things that we can do. I've seen it where, like, if that person kind of in the picture here, if they're going to be there standing for a while, we get a pylon or a cone, or we get tensor barriers to kind of block that area off so that the driver knows that there's somebody back there, or that they can't go any further. Like those types of like small little controls can really, really help. Right? Does anybody else want to jump in with things that they do or see for incidences like this at their workplace? No? Okay. Again, other resources, a bunch of stuff on pedestrian traffic. I know there's a really good, some really good checklists in there for this type of thing as well. Okay. We're going to keep on. Warehouse traffic rules may include what? What kind of rules should you have in your warehouse? A, B, C, D, or E? What would you say? Oh, look at that. Jessica's all over these. This is great. Absolutely. Speed limits. Let me throw this out to you. What are your speed limits governed on your fork trucks? I would love to know, because they're all over the place. And it's usually in miles per hour. I don't know why, but typically that's what I hear. What would you say is your speed limit on or that your fork trucks are governed at? Anybody know? Under 10, okay. 7 to 8. Yep. And people always ask me, like, what speed limit do you need to have? And it depends. It depends on your environment. If you have a very open facility where you have really good sight lines, you have very long, narrow aisles, you don't have a lot of pedestrian traffic, you might do the 10 or above, right? But if you have a very kind of congested area with lots of pedestrians, there's lots of blind spots, and the drivers don't need to go that fast. Yeah, 7 to 8, 4, 5, 6, even kind of that range is typically what I would see as well. Yeah, the needs of business and safety of the workers, right? That needs to come into play. I remember when I was in automotive, for 20 years. We had ours at 14, and over the weekend we brought it down to 11, and it was like I thought we were going to have a riot on our hands with our drivers when they came in on the Sunday night for their midnight shift, that we had taken down their fork trucks. So it was a very interesting conversation to have with them. So yes. So warehouse traffic safety rules include speed limits, stopping at intersections, right? Hand and horn signals, and then load height on forks. I would even say load height in and around corners and those types of things, but we'll get into that later. I think we have time. I'll just keep going with this one. Worker trips over empty pallet, causing a fatality. Now, I don't know if you know, but anything can kind of cause a fatality, right? All of us as warehouse distribution people, safety people, we know that crazy things can happen. So a worker was performing janitorial tasks, is asked to offload pallets onto a pallet jack. They walked backwards, tripping on the empty pallet. They complained of hand and head injuries. They called in sick and passed away 2 weeks later for this one, okay? Again, this one's pretty, especially if you have a fatality. But again, it is in legislation that you have to have your floors shall be kept free of obstructions and hazards, and measures and procedures are to be carried out within the workplace. So your floors cannot have any hazards in them. And especially when we're coming to the winter months, right? Snow, ice, water, oils, lubricants, those types of things should not be on your floor, which also includes pallets. Like, we should not have pallets or anything else that they can trip and fall over in a walkway or an area where people are walking. Okay. I was at a facility a couple of years ago where the safety person stepped on a piece of a pallet where there was a nail sticking up, and their foot went right through that nail. Now, luckily that nail went right between their two toes. So she was very, very lucky, but that is, again, it just makes me cringe thinking about that too, by the way. But anyway, things like this do happen So we need to make sure that people cannot step over, on, or through like broken pallets. Okay. Penalty for this one was $75,000, right? For ensuring that that this led to a fatality even. What could we do for this? I think this one is pretty self-explanatory for all of us, but for this one, this would be like storage locations for pallets, making sure they're stored, especially empty pallets, have a storage location that they're supposed to be, and it's not in a walkway or a place where people can walk. Timely removal of empty pallets at the loading docks. Pallet stacker equipment, so a pallet stacker that actually helps you stack it. Walking forward if possible, so maybe encouraging people not to walk backwards in the workplace. Maybe awareness training of slip, trip, and fall hazards in the workplace. Having a pallet inspection program to make sure, like we talked about at the start, that your pallets are in good use, right? Use sturdier pallets, and then do not store the pallets on the end, because a lot of the times they will fall over. Okay. Again, this is a really good one. 9 ways to prevent pallet injuries. So if you want to look at deep diving a little bit more into pallet safety, there's a really good resource in here about that. There's a really good article in here. Okay. All right. Oh, number 6. Oh, sorry. Yeah, our little knowledge check. Workers on mobile ladder should what? What should they do? A, B, C, or D, or E? I feel like we need to get a little more creative with these polls. So I'm gonna let you know a little secret. I've had 3 instances in the last year or so where, like those mobile ladders, those tall ladders with the wheels on them. There's been 3 incidences now that I know of that the people are on the top of the ladder and they're saying, hey, Julie, can you push me over to aisle F? And they move them while the ladder, and then they go around a corner. So what happens, do you think happens when they're going around a corner with somebody on the top? What do you think happens? Because it happened three times that I know of, that happened at a workplace 3 times now. It falls over because it's really top heavy, right? And you're turning, and maybe it's a little bit fun or a game or whatever that would be. Yeah, high center of gravity, over she goes. Oh, there she blows, right? And that's just the 3 that I know of. I'm sure there's a bunch more that they don't want anybody to know because they're a little bit embarrassed. People should not be pushing other people on rolling ladders. Okay. What other things, just because we're on the topic of ladders, what other things should you have done with your ladders? Like, what kinds of things should you do with ladder safety? Inspections, right? You're supposed to inspect your ladders before each use, right? Working at heights, possibly. Angela, yeah, absolutely. Regular checks and PMs, perfect. Yep. And training. You're supposed to train people on ladder use. Okay. I don't like to mention it too much, but it's kind of come into play. Like when I was in automotive, we actually had a fatality. We had one of our electricians on a ladder, and he was on just an A-frame ladder. He was only on the 2nd rung of the ladder. So if you were at a desk right now, it's as tall as your desk. He was reaching over from the ladder, fell and struck the back of his head on the corner of a press and died. Okay, so if you don't think that you can die from ladders, you can, or get seriously injured. Those types of things do really come into play, and they're really quick, easy fixes. So make sure that people are trained on ladder use. Make sure that we're inspecting our ladders, okay? And then make sure that they're being audited and enforced. So our supervisors, our leaders are walking by, they're making sure that people are using ladders properly. Yes, there are. I will look, I can't remember the actual name of the CSA standard for that, but there's a lot. The big thing for ladders is the owner's manual. That's the biggest thing. That has everything on there, and that's what the MLITSD really look for, is that are you following the manufacturer's recommendations for the ladder use? And it's right on the ladder. If it's not on the ladder anymore, you can download it from typically from their website. But that's where it says like the things like 3 points of contact. keeping your belly within the confines of the ladder. Those types of things are all in like the manufacturer's recommendations. And that's what we should be training people to, is that as well. Okay, fantastic. Yes, and the answer is always all of the above. Okay. All right. Number 7, this one was interesting to me. Cat litter spill not initially reported. So there was a company that found their irritating odor and foamy substance in the sewer was reported. 200-liter drum punctured at the loading dock. The spill was not reported until the Ministry of Labor investigated and visited the site. The spill confirmed via lab samples. So they confirmed what the lab was, or the results were for this one. Every person who spills or pollutant shall notify the ministry, the Spills Action Center, the municipality, pollutant owner, and the pollutant control, right? This is from the EAP, right? So again, if we have a spill on our loading dock or in our warehouse, we still have to report that, especially if it gets into, sewer systems or outside, or it's a release, right? They talk about all those types of things, okay? This was a $75,000 fine, right? Some of the really good things that we should be doing for this to have prevented it, again, a spill response plan, right? We should have spill response plans for all of the stuff that we have at our work site. Having the safety data sheets on hand so that we can verify, what the chemicals are, how to clean them up, the PPE that we need to use. Now, side note, how often do SDSs expire? Not you, Julie, because I know that you know the answer to this one. How often do they expire?
I thought they no longer expired. They only, like, if there was a change in the actual chemistry or the makeup of it now.
Well, Angela, aren't you smart? You are 100% correct. Yes, SDSs do not expire anymore, right? Which is a great thing. They only expire, or they only change when the manufacturer changes the actual chemical of there, right? Yeah, it used to be 3 years, but now they don't expire anymore. So it's up to the manufacturer of the chemical to bring down those SDS if there's a change. So if there was a change, they send that to the the suppliers, and then they should send it out to all of you. Okay, so all of those things are really good to know, but you should have SDSs on hand and ready for any kind of chemicals that you should be using. Program and training, right? What's our spill response program? Do we train people on what that looks like? Reporting, internal reporting of spills, and then external, who is reporting that to, like the Ministry of Environment, and then careful material handling at loading docks. So again, if we have chemicals at our loading docks, how are we handling those chemicals, and are we training our drivers to know if there's a spill, like if there was a puncture or something's leaking or dripping? How do we notify, and how do we activate our spill response plan? Okay. Again, we have videos online if you ever want. This one is about controlling workplace chemicals. Oh, perfect. Yes. So this one is on there again, but there's a whole bunch of things on chemical exposure and about how to mitigate that. I like to make sure that our drivers know what kind of chemicals we could be loading or offloading within the warehouse, and making sure that there's a plan in case there is a spill. Okay. All right. Warehouses do not require safety data sheets for chemical products stored and not used. True or false? Yes, this one is false, right? We should have chemical SDSs for all of our products, right? And the driver should know where to attain those, and the reporting and all that kind of good stuff. Perfect. Okay, shunt driver backs into security guard, causing a fatality, right? Night security guard applies glad hand locks. Very early in the morning, the shunt driver backs up to the trailer, striking security guard. Audible alarm and reverse lights are malfunctioning on the shunt truck. Security is not wearing a company-supplied high-vis vest, and there's no enforcement of the PPE usage within the facility. So as you guys can see, and I hope that you're kind of connecting the dots, there are lots of things that fail that lead up to these types of incidents. Lots of things that fail, right? So for this one, employers take every reasonable precaution. I don't ever want to like talk about this one, but it's like the 25(2)(h), right? The general duty clause. What are some things that would be reasonable that the employer should be doing in this circumstance? What things would be considered reasonable for them to do? in this situation, what do you think would be reasonable for the employer? Keeping equipment in good working order. I love it. Absolutely. Right? Because that shunt truck is owned by the company, right? Enforce their own policies, right? Have we done, a spot check, or do we audit or enforce our own policies and procedures, right? Assign someone the task of checking on equipment. Oh yeah, absolutely. Right. But like, again, my other question would be like, why is that security guard supposed to be there? Like, is part of their duties to be in the loading dock area, right? But the reflective vest would be a great one. Proper lighting, right? Maintenance inspection plan, love it, right? Yeah, all these types of good things, right? So they got a $250,000 fine for this, right? Because I feel like there was a lot of levels that kind of failed in this instance, right? What things could we have done to have prevented it, right? All yard workers, including security, wear high-vis vests, right? Monitor and enforce our own policies and procedures. Shunt truck preventative maintenance, right? The employer is responsible to maintain the equipment in good condition. So the shunt truck should have been inspected, right? It should have like, their pre-use inspection completed on there. Maybe there should be PMs on it, like preventative maintenance program on there, to make sure that maybe it's being checked by our maintenance staff, making sure all the lights are working, the brakes are working, all that type of stuff. Program and training for loading or unloading the shunt trucks, what that looks like. The goal, the driver, maybe get out and look, but again, I don't know if he's expecting people to be there or they shouldn't be there. Adequate lighting would be another question. How well is it lit? Effective communication system. So again, if I'm a security guard and I'm walking through the shunt area, like the loading dock area, maybe there's a quick, hey guys, just doing my nightly perimeter walk. I'll be walking, near the loading docks 1 to 10. Something like that, just to let the people know that they're going to be in that area. And then again, my ultimate goal is always to reduce as many people as we can within that area. So don't have anybody walking there that doesn't need to be there. Like if that security guard doesn't need to be there, let's make sure that they're not there. Okay. Resources. This one is a little bit just more about like PPE, because we've already talked about the other ones and the other ones. This one more is about PPE, like what kinds of vests you need to wear, which a lot of people don't know. So a lot of places I go to, they say, oh yeah, all of our workers have high vis clothing, which just an orange shirt, which doesn't meet the requirements for high vis, right? Which is our next thing here. CSA requires that high visibility clothing be worn in a warehouse. What kind of class of visibility do you need? Like, and this is in a standard as well. What kind of class do you need to have in for this in your warehouse? What kind should it be? Let's see what you guys put. Oh, okay. 3 responses. Oh, okay. I want to see more than 5 people respond to this. This one's a good question. I think this one is really, really interesting. Okay. So the answer to this one is 1 or 2. So class 1 or 2 needs to be within a warehouse location. Okay. So again, good takeaway to make sure that your high vis meets the requirements of a class 1 or class 2 high vis vest in the warehouse. Again, what I see sometimes is people, just one sec, Joel, people just think that a yellow shirt or a pink shirt or whatever is considered high vis, which it is not. There are certain requirements for where that is. Julie, I think I know what you're going to ask me, but go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm going to want you to guess them. What do you think I'm going to ask you?
I think. Oh no, I was going to say where is that found?
No. I wasn't actually going to. I wasn't going to actually ask it. I've never heard of class 1, 2, 3, 4 high vis. So can you just give me like what does that actually mean, and which CSA standard is that in? Because I'd love to look this up. Because I'm not aware of this.
Yeah, this one's a good one. So I typically know the class 1 and class 2 because I have heard that several times. For that, I am going to put into our email that we're going to send out the link for where this is found. because it'll go into like what the different classes are for the different tasks that they require.
Okay.
And again, it's a CSA standard, so it's not the law, but that is the CSA is saying that in these types of work environments, these are the type of class 1 or class 2 that you should have at the work site. Which, again, it's kind of an eye opener for a lot of people. And also, like, there's a certain lifespan on reflective vests as well. Like when that reflection doesn't reflect anymore, there's a certain amount that you can have for that as well. So I will make sure that that is all included in our follow-up email. So then you guys can deep dive into your specific needs for all your classes and stuff. Sound good? All right. Perfect. This is a great class. We should do this one all the time. Okay. Another kind of struck by, this is a big topic with the administrative labor, okay? Like struck by happens quite a bit, right? So worker struck by vehicle near the loading dock. So the worker was walking in the parking lot near the loading dock in the early morning, walking between two vehicles when one turns, striking them. Inadequate lighting. Joint Health previously raised lighting concerns in the parking lot. I want to emphasize that we should be doing inspections in our parking lot as well. Right? It's not just the loading docks, you guys. Our parking lots. So whenever I do, again, my pedestrian traffic assessments, I'm always looking at the parking lot and how people come into work or leave work. Because are there transport trucks going through that? Do we have slippery conditions? Let me ask you a question. And I know it should be pretty easy now. Where's the number one place that people slip, trip, and fall in the workplace?
Parking lot.
Parking lots, number one. Right? And it's typically the first or the second step out of the vehicle because you're not expecting slippery surfaces and they usually don't plow salt or sand between the cars. So you usually have a big buildup of snow and ice between the cars. So when you open the door, maybe you don't have your really good footwear on, you step out, you close the door, maybe you have a coffee in your hand, you have a purse in your hand, you have a bag in your hand. So your hands are occupied and then you step on ice. And that's where most people will slip, trip, and fall, but it's also where there's a lot of struck by incidents are in the parking lot. People can't wait to get out of there. Maybe they're doing stuff in the car, like they're distracted. And that's where a lot of people do get injured is in parking lots by struck by vehicles. Okay. Again, this one's just about natural lighting. Where natural light is inadequate, artificial lighting shall be provided, and shadows and glare shall be reduced to a minimum. So that's inside and it's outside as well. So you have to have proper lighting outside as well. Okay. I also believe that your joint health should be doing proper inspections in the parking lot areas to make sure that potholes, trip hazards, lighting, those types of things as well. Okay. They were fined $150,000 for this. What they could have done to have prevented it, right? Regular inspections, including your yard, right? So again, encouraging our Joint Health and Safety Committee to look for hazards outside as well. Safety maintenance, a priority, right? So looking for lighting and making sure that we have like a work order to get things fixed. Pedestrians directed away from traffic. So again, I always say to people, where do you want people to go? So when they leave the workplace, how do you want them to get to the parking lot? Do we have a pedestrian walkway that leads them away, or are they just like cats where they just kind of scatter all over the place? I would like to direct them into a certain location. High-vis apparel worn in yard. Again, if I'm just leaving, going to my car, maybe I'm not wearing the high-vis, but again, employee parking separated from the yard traffic. So again, I don't like to see those two mix where we have yard traffic and personal vehicles mixing, but sometimes it's a reality. How do we mitigate that kind of risk? I've seen it where there's crosswalks. I've seen it where they hit a light or a little button and a light goes on to let them know that people are going to be traveling. I've seen a whole bunch of really interesting ways that people can mitigate that risk down. Again, drivers get out and look, maybe not driving so fast. Horn, maybe during low light conditions. And then effective joint health recommendations. So if the joint health has been recommending this, there needs to be better follow through on the recommendations. Right? So having those recommendations looked at and making sure that it doesn't go on too long. Okay. Again, other resources. This one's about competent supervisor. There's a whole bunch of other ones in here about outdoor inspections as well. Okay. Vehicle incidents can occur because of what? What can they occur from? Again, I think we've all kind of figured these ones are all about all of the above, right? So I don't even, Jessica, it's okay about the, right? Limited, where does it say there? Limited visibility, right? So not being able to be seen at nighttime, inadequate separation of maybe vehicles and people, lack of attention, especially when people are leaving work, right? Their mind is on other things, and then inadequate traffic controls, right? So out in the parking lot as well. Okay. All right, number 10, this is our final one, everybody, right? Worker operating lift truck in the outside yard. They turn 90 degrees corner at a very high speed. So they're going outside. They turn at a 90-degree angle. The lift truck tips onto the side and crushes the worker. The worker was not wearing a seatbelt, right? So apparently you're probably all going, oh, well, why aren't you wearing a seatbelt, right? And again, employer shall provide information, instruction, and supervision to worker to protect the health and safety of the worker, right? This one is probably one of the number one orders I see in the province of Ontario is the employer has to provide information, instruction, and supervision. Now, I talk about this in all my leadership courses, but how often do you need to supervise a worker? Like if Julie was one of my employees and do I need to sit there and stare at her the whole time like this, which is kind of creepy. I get it. How often do you need to supervise a worker? I want you to say 2 words for it. I won't, Julia. I swear to God, I will not stare at you the whole time, which is kind of weird. I get it. How often do we need to tell our supervisors to be supervising a worker? It depends. What kinds of things does it depend on how much our supervisors supervise workers? What things does it depend on? You have to supervise them all the time, okay? That'd be kind of weird and probably hard to do. Experience of the worker, yes. And what else? What's the other thing? So the experience of the worker, like the new worker, on the situation, yeah, as necessary. So the task. So the experience of the worker and the task that they're doing, is it reasonable? So if I have a brand new employee who is doing a high risk task, then we should be monitoring them continuously. If we have a person who's been there 20 years and they are counting something in a warehouse that they've done 1,000,000 times before and there's no fork trucks there or anything like that, that's a pretty low risk job, maybe a couple times during the day, right? So that's what supervision really looks like, okay? But for this one, right, why is that driver allowed to, take that corner at such a speed? Do they do that all the time without supervision? Like, are they allowed to drive like that in their workplace, right? So things like that, okay? The fine for this was $93,000, okay, which is pretty big. How could we have prevented this, right? Some of the things that I just had listed here is all lift truck drivers should be wearing their seatbelts. And I know there's a lot of really good lift trucks out there that, the noise comes on if you don't plug it in. I like where you have the seatbelts are a nice pink or a nice red color, so it's very easy to tell if they're wearing the seatbelts on there. Monitoring and enforcing it. Our joint health should be looking for it. All of our supervisors should be looking for it. Our safety people should be looking for it, making sure that they're wearing their seatbelt. It's for their protection, right? It's also a legal thing as well, right? Reporting system. So again, we're not going to tell on people, but maybe having those coaching moments to make sure that people are wearing their seatbelts. You should have a lift truck program based on the B335 lift truck safety standard, okay? Awareness communications about making sure that people are driving safely, not taking corners too fast, and then reporting anybody that's driving in an unsafe manner. And then maybe speed control technology, like we talked about, maybe having it governed at a lower speed so they can't do it as easily. For this case, is there a way that the company won't be fined? Again, that's a great question, Betty, because they're going to look at it from the top. So whenever the Ministry of Labor would come in, they usually take a look and say, does the company have policies, procedures, training, and enforcement? And they would say, yep, they've been trained. This was the course they took. They did a really good practical, and then they would start working their way down. Does their supervisor know that they're driving like that? Is it allowed to happen? Is it encouraged, right? And then if all those things are a no, then they would go to the worker and say, have you not been trained? Have you ever been disciplined before for this? And why are you driving in an unsafe manner? So I've seen it where they always start at the top and they kind of work their way down to the actual employee, right? There's always someone who makes it their mission to figure out how to not wear it. Absolutely. I've seen it where it is actually plugged in, but they're sitting on top of it, right? So that the noise doesn't go off. If they can show they did all measures to prevent this. Thank you. Yeah. Again, it's like the whole due diligence course. I love the half-day supervisor due diligence course because it really gets into those kind of questions, right? It's like, did you do everything reasonable for the protection of that worker? And if you can really, so I always think, if there was an incident, if this person did get hurt, was there anything else that we could have done to have protected that worker that would be reasonable? And those should be like your little gap assessments that you say, you know what, we don't really check for this. Maybe we should have done more training. Maybe we should be, doing more PMs on this or whatever that would be. Those are like your little gaps that an inspector could look at and say, maybe you're not doing everything reasonable for that worker. Right? Okay. Great discussions, you guys. Resources, again, what should lift truck operators know about seatbelts? Again, just a quick little safety video. I'm sure that they all know what that is because they all get the training as well. So they should all be very familiar with what that looks like. I think this is more of a cultural thing where if it's allowed to happen in the workplace, then they just know that they can get away with it. So there should be auditing and enforcing of this as well. Okay. If a stand-up reach truck is tipping, the operator should step back and away from the machine. True or false? Great question. What would you say? Julie says true. Anybody else? If you're on a stand-up reach truck and it starts tipping, what are you trained to do, or what should they do? Yeah, this is true, you guys. They're supposed to step off, like away from the machine, right? Because they don't have a seatbelt on as well, and you're actually supposed to step away from it if you can, right? All right, good job. So summary, next thoughts, next steps. So we kind of went through the highlights, legislation, penalties, lessons learned, and resources for these 10 cases. Any thoughts on some of this legislation that we talked? Anything that you want to bring up about all these fines and penalties that we kind of discussed? Is there anything that you'd love? Oh, I love it too, Julie. I love it. I think these are great, right? Having a really nice interactive group really helps as well. I'm happy that you guys learned it. I wanted to throw in here, it'll be in the email as well, because I picked these off yesterday from the Ministry of Labor website. These are the 3 really recent courses or recent fines that are on the News Hub. So the first one was the LCBO one here in London, and that was for the forklift training, right? So they didn't have proper training of their forklift operators. The next one was the racking failure. So they were not inspecting and maintaining their racks properly. They were fined $50,000 for that. And then the other one was unsecured loads falling onto a worker from racking. So they had pipes on racking that was not secure, and they fell onto a worker, and they were fined $60,000. So the point is not to like scare you with the fines, but just to let you know that these things do happen, right? Like these fines do come out. My goal with this whole session is that you've learned that these things are happening and to audit your own workplaces and make sure that it's not happening there. So if there's things that we can look for, make sure that all of our stuff's kind of buttoned up so that people do not get injured in our workplaces. Okay. So I just put those in there just in case, like super recent stuff that was I just found it yesterday. If you ever want to go on there, they have some really good court bulletins and stuff like that on there. Okay. Is there anything that you're going to take away from this session? And this is where I'm hoping that somebody says something that makes it so that it was all worthwhile for you to attend today. Anybody? Derek?
Hey, Carl. Yeah, no, I found this very informative, so thank you for doing this, and especially highlighting. I know you said you don't want to necessarily focus on the fines, but from a business perspective, that is something that's very helpful, and that's something that I'm trying to do more is kind of present the business case for safety in our organization. So all of these kinds of things really help me to build that. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. What I used to do in automotive is those core bulletins, if I saw one that was really relevant to our workplace, I would actually send that out to our leadership team and just say, hey guys, just to let you know, this company got fined $350,000 for this. How are we with this? Like, how are we doing with that? And they were like, oh my God, like we could improve it this way. Like they kind of took that on as well. Instead of the safety guy always telling them what to do, send those types of things out, right? They're fantastic to send out just to let people know, hey, this is happening, right? Especially like the supervisory ones where the supervisors get fined. A lot of supervisors don't realize they can be fined. They can even be criminally charged as well, right? And a lot of them don't know or realize that, right? Distracted driving for operators. Yeah, for sure. Double check our racking program. Again, often eye roll. I do that often and it's a really an eye roll for them. Yeah, subscribe to Google alerts for health and safety. They all get sent to you. Yeah, great idea. Absolutely, Julie, for sure. That's why I like to talk about it, right? So that you guys can kind of look at your own businesses and say, maybe this is a hazard or risk at our place. And then if you start sharing some of these fines and penalties, it does give a little bit more beef to if you want to improve something and say, you know what, this is happening in our neck of the woods. So again, I would just suggest as well, taking a look at your racking, because I'm sure there's going to be an initiative coming in 2026 about racking and those types of things. So great. What else do we have here? Oh, okay. Again, tons of things that we can do to help. I know I've kind of beaten that to death, but again, like I said, a lot of our stuff is for free. Like if the WSPS.ca website has a ton of free resources. If you want to get in touch with me, it's all free, all that kind of stuff. You want to do site visits, it's all free. The one thing I did want to mention as well that is on here is that you get free consulting if you get a ministry labor order. So if you get a ministry labor order, there's a certain amount of days that you will get free from us to help you with that order. It's a great initiative by the Ministry of Labor and by WSPS. So please take us up on that. We have the small business advisory section. The small business area on WSPS.ca is fantastic. We can do a safety check with you as well, or a safety assessment. Like all these types of things, a lot of these things are complimentary or non-paid services, which I think is fantastic. So please take us up on that. Yeah. Any questions, concerns, comments, anything else that you'd like to talk about? I think we did perfect for timing here. Yes, Betty, thank you so much for being part of this. I love it. Did you guys like the format where it was a little bit more laid back, a little bit more inclusive of everybody kind of jumping in and stuff? Did you guys like that? I think it's good as well. So, okay. Great. Beautiful. Love it too, Julie. Yeah, and I'm gonna get more stuff on that reflective class type of thing for us. No problem. And again, if you don't have any other questions, you guys are, you're always free to go, but you guys are free to go.
Thanks, Carl.
Yeah, and the email that we're gonna send out to everybody will have my contact information there and all the resources from today as well.